Hello and welcome to today's webinar on Science Power. My name is Rob Geertsen. I'm the sales representative for WorldBook, and I wanted to introduce you to Science Power and the many great features that are at your disposal. For those of you who have Science Power, every lesson is done on 2 reading levels and has several great features, and there are 95 lessons in Science Power. Before we get into the webinar, I wanted to just show you how to access. First of all, most of you are going to come to, excuse me, that was the wrong link. Most of you are going to come to a page that looks like this when you start. And so these are the different products that most of your schools subscribe to. And then down here you'll notice the Science Power link. But before we get into that, I even wanted to show you really quickly, this is how you access. So when you are at a school, you would go to worldbookonline.com, and from home, you would do the same thing. But each of your schools has a unique ID and password. Now, in some cases, districts have their own unique ways of accessing, so you would follow the steps that you've been taught by your technology coordinators. But in the case of today's webinar, most of the schools viewing this do access this way: worldbookonline.com at school, same IP address from home, and then your ID and your password, and that's a quick way to access. So once you get there, we're going to go into Science Power, and I want to just take you right into a lesson. So we're going to go in here, and I'm going to show you the plant and animal cells lesson. You'll notice that when I hold the mouse over the blue words, you actually have a lexile level, and when I go over the prism that's just below it, it's a lower lexile level. So like I said at the beginning, every lesson's on 2 reading levels. We're going to go into the main one on plant and animal cells. As we get into it, every one of the lessons has a pre and a post assessment. But before we get into that, I want to just go right into the lesson and click on vocabulary. Every single lesson starts with basic vocabulary words that the students are going to see throughout the lesson. And as I go to the first page, I'm going to disable the sound really quickly. But the layout of each of the pages is you have the text, it's read aloud, and then the bold-faced words that you see in the lesson, you can hold the mouse over it. So you'll notice here, cell, the basic unit of life. And then there's a human voice that reads each of the pages. When he finishes, we want the students to do the main idea check. So in this case, what is the basic unit of life? We just answered that question. So we know it's the cell. But it will answer the question here for the student. And then we'd go on to the next page. So I'm going to turn the sound back on so you can hear what it sounds like when we go to the next page. So I'm going to hit the disable the sound, but you get the idea. And what we're going to do is at the end of each of the pages, we want to do that main idea check. So if you're a teacher that takes your students to the lab and all of them are going at their own pace, you want to kind of train them to do the main idea check because we want to test their comprehension before they move on. If you're a teacher that's using this in the classroom, maybe you're using a smartboard or you're just displaying it on a computer projection screen, then you'll want to, as a class, just click on this and maybe have the kids raise their hand, answer the question, and then you can move on before you go to the next page. So I'm going to turn the sound back on and we'll go through the rest of the lesson. So we're now at the end, and we go to the last page. So if you wanted your students, if they had already done the pre-assessment, you would have them do the post-assessment. We're going to go to the finish page so you can see all the different features. But again, you'll have access to go to those pre-post and lesson reviews here anytime you want. If you wanted to go back and review any of these pages over here, you could. But over on the far right, I want to introduce you to the Explore More tab. If you click here, this is basically allowing your students to go in and look up encyclopedia articles on some of the things they learned about, such as chlorophyll, cell, nucleus, plant. So that's what Explore More does, is it puts you into the World Book Encyclopedia. We have 2 types of quizzes. I'm going to show you the red question mark. This is a vocabulary crossword puzzle, and it's really easy to do. If they forget the words, they can click here on word list. And the way you do it is, we'll read one down, the basic building blocks of all living things. You click here, and we already learned that in the lesson, as you know. And so we'd do cells. Now we wanted to do number 2. If I click on 2, you'll notice it highlights it in red over here, so we know that's the question we're answering. Or if I was to do 4, it changes it to number 4. But anyways, and then the student would hit submit, and it will put in green the ones they have correct and red the ones they don't, and then they can continue to pass it. And once they finish, there is a print icon, and they could print off and show the work to you as a teacher if they were required to do so. We also have critical thinking questions on every single lesson. So this is a writing assignment to get their brains thinking a little bit. And so if you were in a classroom displaying this on a screen, you could just pop up the critical thinking questions at the end of the lesson and have them do a writing assignment. Or if you wanted them to do in the computer lab, you could do that as well. We also have a basic experiment, and in this case, this is a really cool one because it's a video that they can watch on osmosis, and it's a 4-minute video that actually goes through and it reiterates, what they've just learned about, but it's in a fun activity and it shows them how to do it. And then every lesson has an extension activity. So in this case, this is something that's kind of a research project. They would print off this key, and then they're given names of different parts of the cell, and then they have to list what each part of the cell does. So it's just a fun activity that reinforces the concepts of what they learned during the lesson. And then last but not least, every lesson has a printable student guide. So I'm going to show you the student guide because I've already downloaded it. But here's the printable student guide. It has the lesson text. You'll notice there's the basic vocabulary. There's the introduction. This is the actual read aloud part. And then the main idea checks. So every student does have the ability to use this as a printable guide. So if a student says they don't have access to a computer, this would be a way of substituting that so that no student's at a disadvantage. So going back here, we're going to go to the home page up here by clicking on the big Science Power. And another way of searching lessons is to go into this feature. So we're into Utah, and I want to choose the grades. Let's say I'm a 5th grade teacher. I'm going to hit go, and this is loading the state core. This right here, these are these are like the I'm not sure what the word is called, but these are like pre-assessment type things. We're going to go down to the actual state core, which is right here. And the word I was looking for was substandards. So above this is the substandards of the core, and now we're actually into the core. So if you wanted to click here on chemical reactions, we actually have a physical changes lesson that ties with that part of the core. As you scroll down here, now I'm going to look at the physical properties of matter. You'll notice that we now have 14 different lessons. So sometimes there's 1, sometimes there's 5, and sometimes there's multiple lessons. But you can search the entire core, and you can see again here, now we're talking about the magnetic fields of various magnets and whatever. But that's a way that you can search things in your grade. And you can change the grade right here if you want to, or go back to the home page and just select your grade right here. So that kind of gives you an overview. I want to also now show you the Teacher Center. So when I click on Teacher Center, I'm already logged into my class. And so what you guys are going to do, there's going to be a teacher instruction sheet that will be emailed to your librarian. And this is a basic step-by-step process on how you create an account as a teacher. You log into worldbookonline.com, and then if you follow these steps all the way through, you'll be able to input all of your student names into the database. And the reason you want to do that is now you'll only have 1 class, even though I have 9, that you're going to want to click on your class, and it will list all of your student names, and it will give you the ability to track their progress. So I'm going to click on my name, and you'll see that I've already taken some of these quizzes, but there's others that have been assigned to me that I still need to take. But you as a teacher can track that progress. If you wanted to also look at the lesson review, you could click on it, and now I can look at the questions as I scroll across 1 through 10, and it will give them the score and the date taken. Now let's say you have a student that struggles on the lesson. Up on the left here, you do have the ability, not print. I wanted to show you the email feature. And you do have the ability to email this to a parent and maybe say, hey, little Jimmy did not do very well on the moving the land assessment. Why don't you guys log on from home and help him and have him retake it? And if he was to retake it, it would show up below it, and it would have a new date and time and a new score. So that's a really cool feature in the Teacher Center. Again, the Teacher Center is up here on the top right. You guys, I'm logged into my account. You guys will create an account, and then you'll input your student names and have it finished. Now the next feature is once you do that, you want your students to connect to you. So each of your students are going to click on Student Center, and it is going to walk them through on how to create an account. And so when they are creating an account, there is a handout that it's called Mapping Teachers to Students. And this shows the teacher, first of all, you need to go in and put the student names in. But then down here, you'll notice right here highlighted, students, follow these steps. And there's only about 6 steps to follow. And I'm going to take you back. So this is a handout you guys have at your disposal that you could display or print off for your students when you go and do this. But all the student's going to do is they're going to go in and put their name in, and they would put their full name. And then they are a student. For their username, we're going to use their student number. And then the password, I'd recommend you use the mascot of your school so that it's uniform for everybody. The username and their student ID will uniquely identify them, but let's make the password something for everybody. I think the easiest way to do that is make your mascot. So if it was Daybreak, you guys would be Dolphins. And then on the security question, just have them do the teacher's favorite, their favorite teacher's last name, and then you can type in, in my case it would be Geertsen. And then when they hit submit, it will ask them to select their teacher's name. So once they click on your name, then they will click on their own name, and then they will be connected to you. So once they are connected to you and you go into the Teacher Center, you'll notice on the top left it says Assign Lesson Reviews and Assessments. So I'm going to click on that. Now I have the ability to go and scroll down and find a lesson. Let's say I was a 4th grade teacher and I wanted to do a fossils unit. What I do is I select my class, and then I hit all, and that means every student is being assigned what I choose. And now I'm going to do the pre-assessment online, post-assessment online, and the lesson review. Hit assign, and now it'll say assessment assigned successfully. And what that means is when the student goes into the Student Center on the home page, and they will now log in, so this is just mine stored, but they will log in with their student number and then their password, which would be the mascot. And once they log in, it will show them all of the lessons and things that you have assigned them. And once they pass them off, they disappear. And then, of course, you have the ability to go track their progress by going into the Teacher Center, choosing your class, and then selecting their name. Okay, so that's just a real quick overview on Science Power. Once again, there are 95 lessons, and I encourage you to use these. If you're unfamiliar and maybe a little intimidated by using it, I encourage you just to find 1 or 2 lessons that tie in with your grade. So if you're a 4th grade teacher, maybe you start with the water cycle and do a quick lesson. And don't feel like you have to be in the lab to use the database. You can actually go and do it in your classroom if you have a projection screen or a smart board, and you can do an activity as a class. And a lot of you already have your materials put together for your lessons. Use this as a supplement, and it can be a really cool thing that you guys do to supplement your lessons or lesson plans that you've already put together. And, of course, if you have time to get into the computer lab, it would be ideal as well. So that's kind of an overview. The last thing I want to show you is at the bottom here, I'm going to click on Worldbook Home right here where I'm shaking the mouse. And this will take me back to all of the databases. There is a training guide. So if you are training teachers, if maybe you're a librarian viewing this, or if you're a teacher and you just want to get some basics and remember some of the things I've taught you, click on Training Guide, then go to Science Power, and now you can go through and click on these blue tabs. So you have the home page. It talks about how the home page is designed, the unit home page, the lesson home page, the lessons themselves. You can see this is the water cycle, and this is one of the pages with the main idea check on the bottom left, the experiments, and all these different things that I taught you. But you can go through and actually train yourself if you ever need to. I'm going to return back to the web. But that's how you would access, and that's a good way for you to be able to go and do a training anytime you want. You're welcome to forward out this webinar to anybody you feel would be able to use it. I am available for questions. Again, my name is Rob Geertsen. I'm with Worldbook, and all of your librarians know how to contact me. So if you need to reach me for any reason, if you have an idea for a lesson, suggestion on lessons we already have, or if you just have general questions, please feel free to contact me. I'm always here and available to help you. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you guys learned a lot about Science Power. I do want to show you the last thing, and that is the usage. You do have ability to track your usage as a school. Lone Peak Elementary is a school in the Canyons District. They signed up in August of 2013, and you'll notice that their usage is really off to a great start. I came and did a training for all of the teachers, and you can see they're steadily using it. There's a 0 in November because today is November 2nd, and it's a weekend. So as soon as school comes back in session on the 4th, then you'll see their usage start going up for the month of November. I also want to show you another school really quickly, and that's Daybreak. Daybreak Elementary is one of my biggest accounts in terms of usage, and they are in the Jordan School District, and you can see their usage is really good. They've been a subscriber for 3 years, and their principal, Dory Strauss, could be a great reference for you if you need one, but they do a great job of usage, and I've been to their school about 10 different times to do trainings, and this webinar that's recorded is actually going to help me reach more of you in a quicker format. The last thing I want to show you is that we do have the ability to do some bookmarks. So this is Harvest Elementary in the Alpine School District, and they just barely signed up in August as well. But this is a bookmark I put together promoting all of their databases, including Science and Social Studies Power, with their ID and password down here at the bottom. So you do have access to that flyer we started with and these bookmarks, which can promote usage. And, of course, we want you guys to get in and use the databases as often as possible. Thank you again for joining me. Have a great day.